What's up, guys? It's Cassie and Sara, and today we're talking about an 11-year-old serial killer, Mary Bell.
So if you like watching murder mysteries, paranormal stories, and urban legends, make sure you hit that subscribe button and keep on watching. Mary Flora Bell's mother, Elizabeth Betty Bell, was a well-known local prostitute who was often absent from the family home, frequently traveling to Glasgow to work and simply leaving her children in the care of their father, if he was present. Mary was her second child, born when Betty herself was 17 years old. Mary was an unwanted and neglected child. According to her aunt, within minutes of Mary's birth, her mother had resented hospital staff attempting to place her daughter in her arms, shouting, "Take the thing away from me." As a baby, toddler, and young child, Mary frequently suffered injuries in household accidents while alone with her mother, which led her family to believe that either her mother was deliberately negligent or intentionally attempting to harm or kill her daughter. On one occasion in 1960, Betty dropped her daughter from a first-floor window. On another occasion, she plied her daughter with sleeping pills. She must have really hated her daughter.
Throwing her out first-floor window? Like, okay, I get a first... Wait, would first floor be like this?
Maybe. Yeah, I would think
this child
so.
Is a baby. You're like...
There you go, that's what started it. That's what started it all.
I think that's what they say with brain damage. And then sleeping pills, they're just like, I don't want to mess with you. Eat them.
Just be like, you're crying too much. Sorry if you see me laughing, it's just, I can't.
It's a lot.
She is also known to have once sold Mary to a mentally unstable woman who was unable to have children of her own, resulting in her older sister, Catherine, having to travel alone across Newcastle to reclaim Mary from this individual and return the child to her mother's home on White House Road. Despite her negligence and abuse of her child, Mary's mother refused repeated offers from her family to take custody of her daughter, whom she, as a dominatrix, is alleged to have begun allowing and or encouraging several of her clients to also sexually abuse in sadomasochistic sessions by the mid-60s.
Okay, what the heck is a dominatrix? Is that some like...
It's like the reverse. You know how like dominant women, and they kind of like... I feel like it's basically what I'm going to look like for Halloween and all that latex.
Oh, yeah.
With the whip and stuff.
Yeah, so she must, like, I wonder if she, like, runs, like a...
I'm not... Maybe.
Okay.
It's possible, but...
This poor girl didn't even have a chance from the start. Like, when her mom... Or the people in the hospital tried to give her, they're like, take that thing away from me.
Take that thing out. Take it away from me. Both at home and at school, Mary exhibited numerous signs of disturbed and unpredictable behavior, including sudden mood swings and chronic bedwetting. She is known to have frequently fought with other children, both boys and girls, and to have attempted to strangle or suffocate her classmates or playmates on several occasions. On one occasion, she is known to have attempted to block the trachea of a young girl with sand. This violent behavior made many children reluctant to socialize with Mary, who would frequently spend her free time with Norma Joyce Bell, the 13-year-old daughter of a next-door neighbor.
Like, what age were they that she was trying to choke somebody out with sand? Also,
I think
how
she
do you
was...
do that?
She was 10.
So you just, like, pin somebody down and you're like, eat this. Like,
I guess. This girl, unless this little girl had to be a lot smaller. Or if Mary Bell was just a freakishly strong kid. Although the girls shared the same surname, they were not related. According to one classmate at Delaval Road Junior School, by 1968, she and her peers had become accustomed to the sudden and marked changes in Mary's behavior. And when she began exhibiting distressful mannerisms, including shaking her head and forming a steely glaze, her peers instinctively knew she was to become violent, with the focus of her stare being the individual she would attack.
Could you imagine? Oh my gosh. Like, you just stand doing your own thing. You look over and she's like...
And then be like, you knew to protect that child at all costs.
I kid you not. I would have the Flash born inside of me. I would be gone.
I'd be like...
No, I don't even care if I'm at school. I'm like, I gotta go. Sprint home as fast as I can go. Lock all my doors. But, like, when that happened, like, if you went home, would she come after you at home?
I was just going to say, no, if I was a teacher, I would keep my focus on her, and if I see her glazing over, and her stare was locked on another child, I would run to that child, take them into my arms, and go to Mary and be like, get the fuck back.
You throw them over your shoulder and just take off.
I'd be like, Mary, back the fuck up.
I can't even imagine being these children. Like, they'd be terrified every single day for their lives, probably.
On Saturday, May 11th, a 3-year-old boy was discovered wandering dazed and bleeding in the vicinity of St. Margaret's Road, Scotswood.
A 3-year-old boy? What is a 3-year-old boy doing out alone? 3!
I know.
Does he even know where he's going?
I know back then, like, parents were like...
No, but
because
3, that's like a fetus.
I know in Japan, parents, like, I think around the age of 5, let their kids, like...
Go off and do whatever?
Do their own, like, making errands, and I'm pretty sure going on, like, the subway or whatever to school and stuff. The child later informed police he had been playing with Mary and Norma Bell atop a disused air raid shelter when one of the girls had pushed him 7 feet from the roof to the ground, inflicting a severe laceration to his head. The same evening, the parents of the 3 small girls contacted police to complain that both Mary and Norma had attempted to strangle their children as they played in a sand pit. That evening, both girls were interviewed about these incidents. Both girls denied any culpability for their air raid shelter incident, claiming they had simply discovered the boy bleeding heavily from a head wound after he had fallen. Further questioned about the attempted strangulation of the 3 girls, Mary denied any knowledge of the incident. However, Norma admitted Mary had tried to throttle each of the girls, stating, "Mary went to one of the girls and said, 'What happens if you choke someone? Do they die?' Then Mary put both hands round the girl's throat and squeezed. The girl started to go purple. I told Mary to stop, but she wouldn't. Then she put her hands around Pauline's throat and she started going purple as well. Another girl, Susan Cornish, came up and Mary did the same thing to her. Police notified local authority of the incidents and Mary's violent nature, but due to their age, both girls were simply given a warning. No further action was taken."
What?
Norma ratted out Mary.
She's a little snake. Norma was like, oh my gosh, Mary tried to...
No,
there.
that was not.
Hello?
I don't know what happened.
You got the Mary Bell glaze. Anyways.
Norma was like, okay, we're just gonna like rough them up, but I think when she saw the girls going purple, she was like, Mary, you gotta cut
But
the
I
shit.
don't know that if Mary was trying to do it to kill them or to like,
just
experiment.
Yeah.
Because she's awfully young.
I think right now was just experimenting, but I also think Mary's like, just didn't know how far to like
go
and stop.
Because I think obviously when serial killers first start, a lot of it is just experimenting.
Yeah.
And she's so young, so she's probably
10,
curious like what happens if I put all my force on someone's neck, you know?
On May 25th, 1968, the day before her 11th birthday, Mary Bell strangled 4-year-old Martin Brown in an upstairs bedroom of a derelict house located at 85 St. Margaret's Road. She is believed to have committed this crime alone. Brown's body was discovered by 3 children at approximately 3:30 p.m. He laid on his back with his arms stretched above his head. Aside from specks of blood and foam around his mouth, no signs of violence were visible upon his body. A local workman named John Hall soon arrived on the scene. He attempted to perform CPR to no avail. As Hall attempted CPR, 2 local girls, 10-year-old Mary Bell and 13-year-old friend and neighbor Norma Bell, appeared in the doorway to the bedroom. Both were quickly shooed out of the house. The 2 knocked on the door of Martin's aunt and informed her, "One of your sister's kids has just had an accident. We think it's Martin, but we can't tell because there's blood all over him." The following day, Dr. Bernard Knight conducted a post-mortem upon the body of Martin Brown. Knight was unable to find any signs of violence on the child's body and thus was unable to determine the child's cause of death, although he was able to discount the investigators' theory the child had died of poisoning through ingesting tablets. An inquest on June 7th returned an open verdict. And then she had to go to Martin's aunt and be like, "Hey, I think he's dead."
Guess what?
But we're not sure because he's covered in blood.
You can't tell me that's not suspicious. And also really insensitive. That's crazy. And like right before her birthday.
Right before her
little birthday present to myself.
My coming of age.
It's literally wild.
On Mary's 11th birthday, May 26th, she and Norma broke into and vandalized a nursery in nearby Woodland Crescent. The 2 entered the premises by peeling tiles off the slate roof, tearing books, upturning desks, and smearing ink and poster paints about the property before escaping.
These are wild kids.
Wild!
11 years old and they're breaking into a nursery?
They're peeling off tiles off the roof. Is that how they got in? The following day, staff discovered the break-in and vandalism and immediately notified the police, who also discovered 4 separate notes which claim responsibility for Martin Brown's murder. One of these notes stated, "I murder so that I may come back." Another read, "We did murder Martin Brown. Fuck off, you bastard."
I bet you these kids were like, this will really get them.
A third note simply read, "Fuck off, we murder. Watch out, Fanny and faggot." And the final note was the most complex reading. "You are mice, why? Because we murdered Martin Go Brown. You better look out, there are murders about by Fanny and faggot, you screws." The police dismissed this incident as a tasteless and childish prank. 2 days later, on May 29th, shortly before the funeral of Martin Brown, in a game of chicken, both girls called upon the house of his mother, June, asking to see her son. When June Brown replied that they couldn't see her son because he was deceased, Mary replied, "Oh, I know he's dead. I want to see him in his coffin."
That's awful.
If I was his mother, I would have shoved that girl off my front porch and been like, "Get out of here."
Could you imagine, like, this mother is heartbroken.
Broken.
And this little brat comes up on the porch and he's like, "I want to see your son."
I'm like crying my eyes out.
He's gone.
He's gone. I'm sorry.
Like, I know. I just want to see his body.
In his coffin.
I can't imagine.
Immediately, I'd be like, "Yo, there's a psycho who wants to see my son in his coffin."
I wonder if the mom, like, had any suspicions about her.
On the afternoon of July 31st, 1968, a 3-year-old named Brian Howell was last seen by his parents in the street outside his house playing with one of his siblings, the family dog, and Mary and Norma Bell. When he did not return home later that afternoon, concerned relatives and neighbors searched the streets without success. At 11:10 p.m., a search party discovered Brian's body between 2 large concrete blocks upon the Tin Lizzie. The Tin Lizzie is just a space near the railroad. The first policeman to arrive at the scene observed that a deliberate but feeble attempt had been made to conceal the body, which was covered in clumps of grass and weeds. Cyanosis was evident on the child's lips, and several bruises and scratches were evident upon his neck. A pair of broken scissors lay close to his feet. The coroner would conclude that Brian had died of strangulation and that he had been deceased for up to 7.5 hours before the discovery of his body. The killer had evidently squeezed Brian's nostrils closed with one hand as he or she had gripped his throat with the other. Numerous puncture wounds had been inflicted to the child's legs before death. Sections of his hair had been cut from his head, his genitals had been partially mutilated, and a crude attempt had been made to carve the initial M into his stomach. I don't think
Mary and Norma stepped it up like 12 notches. That is
especially
wild.
The M just like gives it away.
She wants to be caught.
Yeah.
Like, same with like vandalizing the nursery and like writing that stuff on there. Like, she's taunting the police, like wanting to be caught by somebody, and then carving her initial like.
It's disgusting. The relatively small amount of force used to murder the child led the coroner to conclude that the murderer was another child.
Someone
figured it out. Numerous gray and maroon fibers were discovered upon Brian's clothing and shoes. These fibers did not source from any clothing within the Howe residence and had been transferred to the child by his murderers.
It's sad when you hear like an adult
doing this, but then another
kid?
child doing it too.
But at the same time, like, did Mary Bell have a chance?
No. The discovery of Brian Howe's body sparked a large-scale manhunt. Over 100 detectives from across Northumberland were assigned to the investigation, and more than 1,200 children had been questioned with regards to their whereabouts by August 2nd. The children questioned by detectives on August 1st were Mary and Norma Bell, whom witnesses had already informed investigators had been seen playing with Brian shortly before he was believed to have died. In her initial interview, Norma seemed excitable, whereas Mary was markedly more observant and taciturn.
What do they mean that Norma was more excitable? Like, she was excited to be talking to them? Like, maybe she was excited to get off her chest? You would think that Mary would be, though, because, like...
Yeah, she's like
she's the one that's taunting them.
She's the head honcho.
Yeah.
Although both girls were evasive and contradictory in their initial statements, They freely admitted to having played with Brian on the date of his death, but denied having seen him after lunchtime. Questioned further the following day, Mary stated she remembers seeing an 8-year-old local boy playing with Brian on the afternoon of July 31st, and that she had also seen him hitting the child. Furthermore, she stated she also remembered that the boy had been covered in grass and weeds as if he had been rolling in a field, and that he had in his possession a small pair of scissors. Mary then expounded, "I saw him trying to cut a cat's tail off with the scissors, but there was something wrong with them. One leg was broken or bent." This self-incriminating statement convinced Detective Chief Inspector James Dobson that Mary was the actual killer, as only the police knew about the broken scissors found at the crime scene.
Oh! Finally! Somebody used
A policeman doing his job.
Oh my gosh. She just screwed herself up.
Yup. In addition, the local boy she named was quickly questioned and was discovered to have been at Newcastle International Airport on the afternoon of July 31st, with numerous witnesses able to corroborate his parents' claims. On the afternoon of August 4th, the parents of Norma Bell contacted police, stating their daughter wished to confess what she knew of the death of Brian Howe. Chief Dobson arrived at their home, formally cautioned Norma, then asked what she knew. Norma then informed Dobson Mary had taken her to a spot on the Tin Lizzie, at which point she had been shown Brian's body. Mary then demonstrated to her how she had strangled the child. According to Norma, Mary had confessed to her that she enjoyed strangling the child, before describing how she had inflicted the scour marks to his stomach with a razor blade, which had been hidden at the crime scene, and the broken scissors. Damn. With a razor blade?
This girl is wild.
Wild.
I wonder what Norma was thinking in this situation. She's probably like,
She's like,
what?
she's like, I can't back out now because I know if I do, you're gonna do the same thing to me.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, she didn't see this coming. They were like strangling kids at school together.
A drawing Norma made of the wounds inflicted to the boy's abdomen precisely matched those described by the coroner. Mary Bell was visited at her home in the early hours of August 5th. On this occasion, she was notably defensive when confronted with the discrepancies in her previous statement. She informed detectives, "You're trying to brainwash me. I'll get a solicitor to get me out of this." Later the same day, Norma was questioned again. On this occasion, she made a full statement in which she admitted being present when Mary had actually strangled Brian. According to Norma, when the trio were all alone on the Tin Lizzie, Mary seemed to go all funny, pushing the child into the grass and attempting to strangle him before stating to her, "My hands are getting thick, take over." She had then run from the scene, leaving Mary alone with Brian.
Yeah, so maybe they were trying to strangle him, or Mary was trying to strangle him. Then Norma was like, "I'm out."
I'm not
and
touching
left,
him.
And then Mary went and got her and brought her back after she had mutilated him and everything.
Maybe. A forensic examination of clothing owned by both girls revealed the gray fibers discovered upon Brian's body were a precise match to a woolen dress owned by Mary. The maroon fibers upon the child's shoes were a precise match to a skirt owned by Norma. Furthermore, the same gray fibers had also been found upon the body of Martin Brown. Brian Howe was buried in a local cemetery on August 7, 1968. According to Chief Dobson, who had planned to arrest both girls later that day, Mary Bell stood outside the Howe household as the child's coffin was brought from the home at the beginning of the funeral procession. Dobson later stated, "She stood there laughing and rubbing her hands. I thought, my God, I've got to bring her in. She'll do another one."
That's terrifying. Could you, she's like,
eyes locked on another child. Both girls were formally charged with the murder of Brian Howe at 8 p.m. that evening. In response to this charge, Mary replied, "That's all right by me." Norma burst into tears, simply proclaiming, I'll pay you back for this." In the presence of an independent witness, Mary prepared a written statement in which she admitted to being present when Brian Howe was murdered, but insisting the murder had been committed by Norma. She also admitted she and Norma had broken into the Woodland Crescent nursery the day after the murder of Martin Brown, defacing the property before the two had written the 4 handwritten notes. Shortly after their arrest, both girls underwent psychological evaluations. The results of these tests revealed Norma was intellectually delayed and a submissive character who easily displayed emotion, whereas Mary was a bright yet cunning character prone to sudden mood swings. So she is delayed. She's at a mental age of 8 years old. She's 13 physically and but 8 years old. So
that would make sense that
she's easily excitable and she's submissive. And, like, she has a younger mindset than Mary does at age 11.
Well, Mary seems very, like they said, like, cunning in ways. Like, she knows what's up.
Yeah.
But I do feel bad for Norma because she probably just wanted a friend, you know? And that's just
Like,
what she got.
Occasionally, Mary was willing to talk, although she rapidly became sullen, introspective, and defensive in nature. The 4 psychiatrists who examined Mary concluded that although not suffering from a mental disorder, she suffered from a psychopathic personality disorder. Dr. David Westbury concluded Mary's social techniques are primitive and take the form of automatic denial, ingradation, manipulation, complaining, bullying, flight, or violence. So, not a mental disorder, but a psychopathic personality disorder.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm pretty sure they probably concluded that it came from her early childhood with her mother and stuff. That's so sad.
The trial lasted 9 days. On December 17th, the jury retired to consider their verdict and would deliberate for 3 hours and 25 minutes before reaching their verdicts. Mary Bell was cleared of murder but convicted of the manslaughter of both boys on the grounds of diminished responsibility. Norma Bell was acquitted of all charges.
I think she was acquitted because of, they found out that her mental age was much lower.
Yeah.
So,
And
like,
she didn't, I don't think she actually killed somebody. I think she
observed.
She observed.
Yeah.
Upon hearing the jury's verdicts, Norma clapped her hands in excitement, whereas Mary burst into tears as mother and grandmother also wept. So Mary does have feelings.
I don't buy it for a second.
No.
I don't even buy it for a second.
But her mother also wept? What?
Yeah. Also, don't really buy that either.
Her grandmother, I can see,
but her mom didn't give a crap about her.
No.
But I don't buy that Mary's tears were
real. Passing sentence, the judge described Bella as a dangerous individual, adding she posed a very grave risk to other children and that steps must be taken to protect the public from her. She was sentenced to be detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, effective an indefinite sentence of imprisonment. Bell was released from HM Prison, Askham Grange, in May 1980 at the age of 23, having served almost 11 and a half years in custody. She was granted anonymity, including a new name, allowing her to start a new life elsewhere in the country under an assumed identity.
So she was let out, like,
after 11 and a half years?
Yeah, but, like, we didn't include this, but she wanted to, like, be given a second chance and, like, try life again, I guess.
Yeah, but we also didn't include that before she got released, sometime before that, bitch escaped from prison.
Like, once or twice, yeah. She was also, like, sexually abused. Like, in the prison, too, but she escaped from prison? This girl is wild.
Wild till the day she dies.
And then they still let her out. But maybe they figured because she was so young.
I think she was taking, like, some classes or whatever. She was working in a cafe.
Yeah, so they thought that she had, like, bettered herself and, like,
I think, like, she was taking classes to become, like, a secretary or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think she started deciding to, like, work on herself because she was like, Bell's current whereabouts are unknown and remain protected by the 2003 High Court order. According to Gita Serini, Bell does not claim she was wrongfully convicted and freely admits the abuse she suffered as a child is no excuse for strangling her 2 victims.
So it's pretty cool that she, like, realizes, like, I was screwed over as a child, but, like, that doesn't excuse what I did.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it doesn't excuse you, but, like, it makes it understandable, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
she's like...
She had, like, a very, very rough life. But I wonder if she's, like, I don't want to say normal, but, like, you know, when she was released, I wonder if she's like, dang, I can't believe I did that when I was a kid. Horrible thing when I was a kid.
But she also does have a daughter and a granddaughter who is also, like,
They don't know what she did.
Yeah. They don't know anything. Nobody knows where they are. They don't know their names.
Yeah, because they're basically
part of
under,
that.
like, witness protection program.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the best ones I feel like we've talked about because there's so much information about it. And the fact that this, like, a little 11-year-old girl
was capable of doing this.
This crazy stuff. That's our story of Mary Bell and Norma Bell, technically.
Technically, yeah.
The 11-year-old serial killer. We hope that you guys enjoyed this video. We enjoyed it a lot. As you've heard, we changed up our little how we do things, just to see if we like it better. Let us know down below.
Yeah.
If you like us kind of like interjecting throughout the story and stuff like that.
And sorry it's been so long. We're trying to figure out some things, but we felt like we were going too long without a video. So.
And we do love filming and putting up content, so we don't want to just like stop doing it for months.
But we're just trying to figure out how to make our content. Yeah. So we're still trying to figure that out.
And our lights still haven't come. So that's
we're
part of it too. We're just in a. Let us know down below if you like this video, what you thought about it, if you like how we did things this time, if you like the story. Let us know if there's any other stories that you think that we should cover, and we will.
Yes, preferably child serial killers, because I really like this.
Yeah, that was good.
Not because I'm a psycho, but...
Yeah, if you know any other stories that are about, like, child serial killers, let us know, and we can cover them. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because let us know if you like the video and like our content.
I don't know what this was. Turn on the post notifications so you get notified every time we post a video, which hopefully
will just be every Friday.
Every Friday, yes. Follow us. All our social media is linked down below in the description, so make sure you go and follow us on Instagram and Twitter,
and all that fun stuff. We don't post that much, but we will eventually.
Yeah, hopefully. We will see you hopefully next Friday. Peace.